Zug Holodomor Research Education Consortium. My questions, I have three short linked questions. I think they're all to Professor Zhu, but if anyone else wants to comment, that's great. You mentioned the shocking level of violence you discovered in working in the archives. I'm wondering what kind of state document state violence conducted by the state. Are these secret reports of functionaries to higher officials? Where do they collect their own crimes in a way that they want to preserve them? And maybe they don't term them crimes, but this is where you saw the evidence of these crimes. So I'm curious what kind of documents they are. Secondly, Francis had a question to the panelists in the morning that many of us who look at the Ukrainian Holodomor are convinced of a link between the loathing of the peasantry and the ability to conduct the Holodomor, and whether you think that's an aspect of what happened in China. It's just the question was asked this morning. I thought I'd throw it out to this panel as well. And thirdly, there seems to be some contradiction in the morning. We were told that unlike in Ukraine where it was impossible to talk about the Holodomor, that it was possible to talk about the Chinese famine relatively soon after the events. We hear during this panel that it's more nuanced. You're allowed to talk about it in some contexts, in some ways. What is it the current regime wants to control about knowledge of the famine? Thank you.
Let's take the
And pick and choose.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much. My name is Diana Kudepevin, and I'm from the University of Cambridge. I actually study the memory of the Holodomor in contemporary Ukraine and what is called now Ashashuluk, which is basically from Kazakh Famine in Kazakhstan, memory of that. And I'm actually really interested in what Professor Martin said in the discussion in terms of the ideology of communism itself and how it's basically continuous both in the 1930s and what's happening, for example, right now in independent Kazakhstan. So if we pay more attention in terms of the question of communist ideology and the legacy of communist ideology and what is happening in memory construction, in specific cases precisely in Kazakhstan's regime, and that's another thing that I was actually try to put our attention to further in tomorrow's discussion, for example, the difference between state, regime, ideology, and personality that came out a lot during the first session as well. I'm a sociologist, so I really pay attention to the concepts. But my question towards, I guess, Sarah would be, this constant kind of criticism that a lot of nationalists, for example, Kazakh nationalists have towards the regime, and I would precisely put it at the regime, in terms of authoritarian regime, in terms of communist and post-communist regime of the elites who remained and who were communists in the past as well. So basically the assumption is that because they are communists and because they believe and think more in the communist kind of direction of pursuing different things in history, remembering and so on, they don't even have kind of a symbolic apparatus to overcome this history. So what would be the importance of the regime, both in Kazakhstan and in the Ukraine? So for example, if we see the case of Yushchenko's policy, right? After the Yushchenko regime, it was about a spike of 20% of awareness of people who believed that Holodomor was a genocide, whereas before that, and this is sociological data basically, there was about only 39 or 40% of people who believed that it was genocide, whereas after, in 2013, there was about 80% of people who believed in that. So my question would be precisely about this concept of the regime and the state, and how can we separate the two to see how it works basically.
Thank you. So we don't have our time left. So perhaps very selective and very, very brief response.
Okay, thank you for your question. Again, I should say that we really need, I encourage you to write it, the book on memory and the Kazakh famine, because it is a big topic waiting to be looked at. And I'm kind of hamstrung in that it's a topic I'm very interested in, but I feel that I need to tell the story of the Kazakh famine first. I think the regime is in essence very very important to the story that has emerged. Of course, one point I should have made is just the constraints that many Kazakh historians are under. Is many of them realize that I can't write about certain things, or I can write about these topics, and so. Many of them are quite limited in the topics that they can explore and in the approaches that they can take. So certainly I think the whole politics of scholarship, the funding for scholarship, is also a really important kind of part of the story. So I can only give you a really partial answer on that front.
Yeah, I totally agree with Sarah, and the problem of to go back to the previous question about rhetoric and kind of narratives or discourses that are used to conceptualize what happened, it's really crucial, and I think that there is a problem of which are the legitimate narratives that can be used to frame these events, right? So when you, what Sarah was mentioning before about some idea of kind of switching a little bit the approach to the famine, this is pretty clear. This depends on the political conjuncture, but it's more interesting to think also in terms of how the people speak about these events. So I didn't do real or oral history, but I talked to some survivors who were really quite old at the time when they talked to me in South Kazakhstan, and they were children when the famine struck, and they remembered the dead bodies around the. This was in the rural school of town, or big village in Shymkent Oblast. And so they remembered where the body of dead people were outside the village. And then I asked them what happened later, and this person who I was talking to told me, oh, later there was an investigation, and the person who closed down the mosque was executed as an enemy of the people. And so basically, he was retelling the story of the Great Terror through the state narrative, right, or Stalinist narrative. And this was in early 2000. So there was clearly no overcoming of this narrative, and I think it's very much widespread. And of course, the difference between Ukraine is quite obvious. In terms to reply to Frank's question very briefly, where we are now in terms of balance between survivors, testimonies, and archives, right? This was also one of the questions. Of course, in terms of now we are very, very much on the side of the archives, of course, both for reasons of the availability of written sources, for the distance, the time distance from the Kazakh famine in comparison with the Chinese famine, and also because of the war, Second World War, that really changed. I think everything, as Andrea wrote in this paper today, the generation that was 10 years old, the survivors that were 10 years old when the famine struck, was the war generation. And they were included in the Red Army and given an identity as Soviet soldiers in the war that completely changed their approach to what happened before the war. And of course, this is a very obvious point.
Okay, so the first set question earlier was direct to Dr. Joe. You want to respond and quick respond? Archive, actually.
Question about the archive, where are they kept? Yeah.
What kind of documents?
What kind of documents? Yes.
What would document these acts of the state of violence?
Okay. Yes. Yeah. One thing happened after 1949, after the Communist Party took over China, was regularly sent work team in order to enforce its control. In the vast sort of country, huge country. Is to regularly send work team to inspect local condition and local work. And so most of the reports were written by those work teams. And they were sent to the Central Committee and then was circulated, like copies were sent down to the provincial party committee and the county party committee for them to read in order, so they know what was going on. Yeah. So these were most of documents were this type, and they came. I found them in the sort of provincial, mostly provincial party committees files and the county party committees